Welcome back to the channel, people. KG is back, and it is time for the big match preview. Yes, the biggest game of the championship calendar year for me, anyway. Well, one of the three with Burnley. But, Leeds United versus Sheffield United, big game after the international break. Statements need to be made. Listen, before we get into it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. Drop your thoughts, comments, and score predictions below. Going to get into my preferred 11, even though it's not going to happen clearly from the indications that Farkas said in the press conference. And we're also going to get into score predictions on this one as well. So if you haven't tuned in live, please put your thoughts in the comments after the video's done. Shout out to Parrot House for the support on the last video with the super thanks. Thank you so much for your continued support. Parrot House is also a member of the channel, I should say. If you want to become a member of the channel, the link is in the description. Now, people, we know from the press conferences that this game wasn't built up the way that it should have been built up, but we're going to do that today because it is a big game for both clubs. Even though both managers always play it down, we've seen this story before. We did it last year with Leicester. Then when we win the game, we was acting like we won the league. We know how it goes. Play it down beforehand, then emphasize how big it is once you win, when you do win. We ain't going to do that. This is a big game, people. And shout out to you, Deshaun. Salute to you. And hello to you, Sean. Just before we get into the meat of the Leeds United versus Sheffield United preview, because we're talking about the future, and this is a player that a few of you have mentioned in terms of our injury crisis. As we know now, we've got a couple of players back, so he probably won't be, needed to be called up. But Luca Thomas, who has been bagging goals for the under-21s, I mean, ridiculous. And he can play all across the front line, left, right, up front. He's attracted interest for a number of clubs for the January transfer window in terms of a second half of the season loan. And I think this is really good for him. I think that I know it's got National League side York City are keen to do a loan deal, but I think there's a few Football League clubs that are willing to, take him on as well. And if he can get League Two, that would be probably the best thing for me. If a League One club is interested and they give him regular football, obviously that's better. But I think a League Two loan for him would hit the spot. I think that him getting development out on loan would be big for him and Leeds United. He's already signed a new contract in July, people, so he's already here. He's locked in. New deal has already been signed. He's here for a number of years. Don't worry about him being poached unless we get a good transfer offer in the summer. But yeah, he's a very, very promising talent, man. I've had my eye on him for since he's been bagging goals, and it's been really good to see his development. I think a loan deal would be the best thing. So we'll keep an eye out for that, see where he ends up in January, and hopefully we won't need him. And shout out to you, Alison, evening to you as well. But listen, people, Luca Thomas is the future, but we need to discuss what's going on now. And obviously, we have a massive game with Sheffield United, against Sheffield United, I should say. And for me, it is huge. I'm not going to play this one down. We need to make a statement in this game. We haven't done so against the bigger clubs, or the better teams, I should say, in this league so far. We haven't. We threw it away against Sunderland. Well, someone threw it away against Sunderland. We didn't do anything at all against West Brom except for try to not lose. We lost against Burnley, even though we were really good in that game, but we didn't get 3 points. It's time for us to really put a marker down and hand Sheffield United the first loss. Now, I'm not dismissive of Sheffield United. I'm not dismissive of them at all. I've said from the start that they're going to be in the top 2 conversation. The squad that Chris Wilder's built, or at least the first 11 with a few additions, is championship quality, and it's within his mold. And when I say that, it's a team in his vision, and everything about them, whether it's big Harry Souttar at the back, or Callum O'Hare in there. Of course, we'll speak about Gus Harmer, big Kiefer Moore up top. It's so Chris Wilder. It is so Chris Wilder, and Alfie Gilchrist is fitting like a glove there. They've got some very good players, so this will not be an easy game, and it shouldn't be an easy game. Not with the 2 teams that we're talking about here. That if we was doing combined 11s, it would be fairly close-ish. It's not. It wouldn't have been close last year. We would have had more players in there, but it's a bit closer this year. And it's funny me saying that. I was watching Tobes and Dan, West Ham and Tottenham, man, and we need to get back there, people, man. The fun of the Premier League, the gravitas of the Premier League is just huge. But in order to do that, we've got to win games like this as well. Ryan here saying, I see them as either the other team to get top 2 with us. Yeah, it's between them and Burnley for me. I haven't changed that opinion. When we played Sunderland, and it's not just by the base of one game, but we will only allow Sunderland to finish ahead of us or go up ahead of us if we allow it to. It's as simple as that. It's much like the Ipswich thing. If we falter, someone else will obviously take that spot. It wouldn't be a case of they're just that much better. It's that we haven't done what we should do, because we absolutely should be in the conversation with the squad that we have. We should. Carlos here saying two things to focus to beat them: keep the ball far away from Melier and finish our chances. Doing that, we win tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll get into that in just a bit, but I wanted to get into a few of Chris Wilder's quotes ahead of the game. It seems like he had more chance to speak about the game than Danny Farker did with the Thomas Tuchel gate and everything else like that. Crazy press conference in light of the the big game that we have, which shapes our season almost. But listen, the Bladesman wrapped it up very nicely. I did actually watch the Chris Wilder press conference just to get the full context behind the quotes. But Bladesman here wraps a few things up nicely. And listen, one of the things that we need to speak about is obviously the passing of George Baldock, who left Sheffield United in the summer, but was there for 7 years. So he was there a very long time. Now, yes, they've still got squad members left over from that team, and Chris Wilder will obviously speak about George Baldock to the new players of the team. So there's going to be that extra thing added into it, and this is what I've been talking about in terms of avoiding sports storylines. And we know in sports, storylines are everything. That's what the sports are based off. They're created off emotion. They're created off, oh, this player's come back to his old club and he hasn't scored in 5, but now all of a sudden he scored 2. We've been on the end of those a few times. But even this week, even in hockey, the passing of Johnny Goodrow, Columbus Blue Jackets forward, his teammate, former teammate from Calgary, who joined Columbus this summer to play with him, he scores a goal in that very first game for Columbus, and he's pointing up at Johnny Goodrow's jersey. It's just written in the stars, isn't it? My own Penguins yesterday, Crosby getting a 1,600th point, Evgeny Malkin getting his 500th goal, assisted by Sidney Crosby. Sports storylines, they're all over the place. Going back to George Baldock, Greece beating England and then going on to win a second game. It's like, that's really nice. They shouldn't be beating England, but they do that. There's extra emotion involved in the game, and we have to avoid that. As a neutral, I bet you everybody would probably prefer Sheffield United to win tomorrow, have Gus Harmer have a t-shirt underneath, rest in peace, George, and everything else like that. But we have to avoid that. We have to avoid getting involved in the emotion of the game. And Chris Wilder, I mean, listen, Chris Wilder has told them that they need to channel Sheffield United, that they need to channel it in the right way and everything else like that, that George Baldock would have loved the game tomorrow, which he did, as we all know. But it's up to us as well to avoid those narratives. We've got to start our own. We have to create our own. And listen, I hope Sheffield United get that moment for George Baldock, but maybe at their next home game against somebody else. But we have to avoid it at Ellen Road tomorrow. We just have to avoid it. Yeah, I mean, Ryan here saying teams already raised their game by 10% against us. Anyway, they do. But listen, there's already that with Chris Wilder. We know how he feels. He tried to kind of walk at some of his comments back, saying, I said all those things years ago, so Leeds fans hold it against me. That's just how you feel. I always say it, man. When you've had a few drinks, I don't drink, but we've seen it through time. When people have had a few drinks, that's what they really feel. All right. So you mean it. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. If you don't like Leeds United, just say it. No skin off my nose. But we know he always gets his teams up for these games, always countering that Sheffield United factor. Listen, me and my partner, she is a Sheffield United fan. So we have that in the house already. But for me, it's not about that. It's about the bigger picture. And I will always stress this. I want out of this division. I want out of this division, and I want it this season. And listen, Chris Wilder kind of alluded to that with his comments. Let me just get the comment up. Yeah, George would love to play in this game. Yep, they would. Oh, also as well with Chris Wilder, with Sheffield United, there are no injury issues. So there we are. In terms of them, they're going to be pretty much at full strength. So we'll go into their team in just a bit. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, here I know there's a bit of pantomime in terms of what I said over the 18-19 promotion. Maybe not the wisest was when you've just got promoted, you're 4 hours into the celebrations. It means heavily drinking, and then they'll hold it against me, etc. But I've just been through that. Yeah, this is what Chris Wilder said, and it's kind of like turning the pressure onto Leeds United and alleviate it from his players publicly. But I don't buy it, because I've seen the quality of your team. That's a top 2 team in the championship this season. But Chris Wilder said this: the favourites to go up The favourites to win the league, and rightly so. I'm not trying to part anything on them. Yes, you are. They know, and their fans know they have to go up. They possibly should have gone up last year, but didn't. The squad is a fabulous squad, littered with top players, and I think their chief exec, Angus Kinnear, has gone on record saying it's the highest budget in the history of Championship football. And the thing is, he hasn't said anything wrong there. He hasn't said anything wrong, even though he is trying to pile up people. We're not stupid. I hope we're not stupid here. He's trying to put the pressure onto Leeds United, but everything he said there is absolutely true. We should have gone up last year. Absolutely should have. We should not have give our spot up to Ipswich. Shouldn't have happened. But in order to do that this season, as well as winning the games against teams that we should be beating, which we have been doing, we need to take points off the teams around us too. Instead of doing what we did last year, take all the points off the teams around us, but then trip up against all the teams we should have beaten. Only Leeds can do that. Very Leedsy, isn't it? Very Leedsy people. But he's right in this. We do have to, we wear those favourites tags, and we should wear them with pride. We should do, but we shall see how we get on. Sean saying Luca Thomas has joined York. Leeds announced it. Okay, fair enough. Ryan here saying evening boss. The only thing that stops Leeds going up is Leeds. Absolutely, Ryan. Yeah. Listen, this isn't the big-headed Leeds fan thing. I judge things on the quality of squads. If we do not go up this season, it's because we have messed up. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing you can say in regards to it. I don't want to hear injuries. We've got a chance to rectify that, and hopefully we'll get something in the coming days with a free agent signing to help us until January, when we can really dip into the market. There is no there shouldn't be another team, a fourth team in this league that should jump ahead of Leeds. I can accept Burnley, I can accept Sheffield United. I can't accept anybody else, people. I can't do it. There is no other team that should be even competing with Leeds United. And we saw that against Sunderland. They were nowhere near us. They were nowhere near us. We should have gone out there with a 2-1 win. See you later. But what happened, happened. Yeah, absolutely. We're always our own worst enemy. Always, always. And absolutely, Alice, there are no excuses. I'm not interested in hearing any excuses this season. None. We've kept the manager who the 49ers believe in to give us a promotion that he's done before. We've still got a great squad, and I'm going to get up my preferred 11 in just a moment for just a taster of that without a bench. There are no excuses this season for me. Absolutely none. But we shall see. Neil saying, cut out stupid mistakes, cut out the mediocrity. We keep Harmer quiet, we win. I wish it was as simple as that. Sheffield United, they're good, man. I've watched them a few times this year, and he was speaking about them not scoring a lot of goals. The criticism of them not scoring goals, but for me, that's a moot point, because you can improve on scoring goals. The fact is, they're still unbeaten, and they're coming out of games more often not winning the game. That's the main thing for me. You can improve on scoring goals. It's when you're making mistakes, dropping points. That's when you should be concerned. You can always add goals to your game. Can you cut out mistakes that you see in every so often? That's a completely different matter. Let's have a look here. Chris Wilder on how big of a game tomorrow is. There's always that extra bit in it, especially with the two teams going incredibly well, and 2 tips to have a successful season. It's a big game, but it doesn't define the season. If we go and win it, it doesn't mean automatically we're massively on our way to success, and vice versa. Again, that's talk before the game, people. If they come to the Ellen Road tomorrow night and win, they're buzzing. They're buzzing. They're still undefeated. They've been to Ellen Road, got the win after, especially after a tough 2 weeks for the club themselves. They are absolutely buzzing off that. So it does play into it a bit. Now, obviously, we win tomorrow and then lose the next 5 games. The win tomorrow means nothing, but you would hope that a win tomorrow then kicks you on, because we do need to go on a winning run at some point, people. We can't keep taking draws and saying, yeah, this is it. We can't draw our way into the top 2. It's not going to happen. So we need to make a statement tomorrow, get that win, move on to the game against Watford, get a win there, and carry on that momentum into, ahead of the next international break. Let's have a look. Michael here saying, asking here, KG, do you think Leeds are much weaker without Ampadu and Gruev, as Tanaka and Rothwell are still yet to prove themselves? Yeah, 100%, Michael. We are weaker without them, big time. Ampadu especially. There's not many better in this division, and I still argue that when he's on full form, he can be an asset in the Premier League. I will stick with that at this point in time. So yeah, we are absolutely weak without him, but this is where Tanaka and Rothwell are going to have to really work tomorrow, because I'm going to get Sheffield United's team up in a bit, but where we saw Joby Bellingham getting free in the Sunderland game but not quite getting his chances, if they do that tomorrow and let Harmer, Raksaki, O'Hare get free, it could be very, very dangerous for us. Very dangerous. So one of them is going to have to sit a little deeper, do the more the defensive work, while the other tries to be the more creative outlet and get the ball forward to our front players. But yeah, of course, we're weaker without those two for sure. Carlos here saying, I think we will miss Gruev tomorrow. We were very good defensively with him. Yeah, we will. We'll miss both, Carlos. We'll miss both of them. But yeah, Gruev has been the better one of the two. I can say that this season. So we're gonna miss both of them big time, for in all different ways, off the pitch, on the pitch. Just the commitment that both players do give for that defensive side of the work. It's definitely going to be missed tomorrow for sure. Yeah, I'm Ryan here. Majority of the points we've dropped feels like we've thrown away rather than the other team earned them. Yeah, because even that game against West Brom weren't doing anything great. It was a terrible game to watch. It's just that we went there with the absolute mindset of not losing. You could see how we were set up. We had 6 touches in their box. We were not going there to win. We were hoping to get out there and not getting beat after that Borough game that we lost earlier in the week in the cup. But we've got to change that, people. We got to change that. Let's have a look here. So yeah, let me just see if there's any more big major things from Chris Wilder in terms of anything here. Delighted with the start. Yep, of course he'd be delighted with the start. You talk about the concern of the number of goals scored. Nope. Creating plans. Tribute for Baldock. Yep. Okay, Chris Wilder, I'm playing at Ellen Road. Okay, this one's more apropos to us. We're a young side. There's players that won't have the hold on. There's players that won't have had the hostility of Ellen Road on a Friday night. But if you want to be top players and play at the highest level, you've got to get used to it and handle it. We've had the experience before. It's something you can't take a step back on. You've got to attack it and look forward to it. And in football, you're looking for nights like this, looking at the players' body language over the week and talking about, you look for our team and the likes of Vinny Sosa, who's going to be a live wire in that midfield, people. Anel, their centre-back, Sutter, Kiefer Moore, Gus Harmer, they want to play in these games. It will be a new experience for the like of Raksaki and Gilchrist, Harrison Burrows and Cooper. But if they want a big career, they've got to deal with 39K on a Friday night under the Ellen Road lights. Again, nothing wrong with what he said there, and he's absolutely correct. Talking sports storylines, Raksaki, we know that Leeds United didn't get him on loan, quite frankly, because he wasn't going to get first team football here, so he moved to Sheffield United. Got to look out for that one. You know, we keep thinking about the Gus Harmer storyline. We've got to look out for the Raksaki one as well, because you can just see, can't you? I don't want to see it, people, but you can just picture it, can't you? Raksaki slots one in bottom corner behind, shushing the crowd. We want to avoid that, don't we? We want to avoid that tomorrow and just take all of that out, because we got storylines for ourselves as well. Because in addition to our own players, we've got Lucas Radaby, who's back. I know he's done an event with Ramazani today for Black History Month, but Lucas Radaby is going to be here. And if he's, we're talking about Chris Wilder talking to his current players about George Baldock. If Lucas Radaby is able to speak to our current players and say, yeah, you know what, you guys are doing well, but when I was here, we was playing in the UEFA Cup. We was playing Champions League football. We're consistently finishing top 5 of English football. I would love for you to get the club back there. And that should help. That can help inspire the players to look at him and go, wow, oh, you used to play next to Rio Ferdinand. Wow, amazing. Wow, you had that team in the Champions League. You beat Milan, you've beaten Lazio. Guys, we can run our own story there with one of our great legends. And this, for me, I always say the word legend is subjective, by the way, but this is a legend to me. This is a legend to me. And, club legends are personal to everyone. I don't subscribe that everyone should think a club legend is who everyone says it should be. No, but for me, there's many kids of Leeds United fans named Lucas because of Lucas Radaby. That's how influential this man was. Just an absolute gent and a giant on the field as well. So hopefully his influence can help us and inspire our team in terms of tomorrow's game to help get us back to where this club should be. Yeah, absolutely, Graham. Club legend makes all my all-time legend. Makes my all-time Leeds 11. Yeah, big time, absolutely. So we've got that. Of course, we also have Joel Peru, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. Let me just see if there's anything else here. before we get into the teams. Right. Okay. Okay. So let's get into the teams then. And even though we heard that Daniel Farker is sticking by Melier, quite frankly, if it was me, I'm dropping him tomorrow for Carl Darlow. And I've said it already before. I've already said it before in regards to Carl Darlow and Melier. It's a coin flip because one is not superiorly better or even marginally better than the other. They both have weaknesses in their game. But at least for me with Darlow, if he makes that mistake that Melier made against Sunderland, he's going to get taken out the game. In terms of that, he'll get held accountable for any mistake that Darlow makes, whereas our current number one doesn't get held accountable for me. And this isn't off the basis of just the mistake against Sunderland. That would be harsh. You say move on from that, get on with it. And Jayden Bogle speaking about that today, how disappointing that result was at the end, but you have to use that and channel it into the next game, which I hope they do. But it's a culmination of them. He's literally cost us points this season, multiple. You know, the shot against Portsmouth where it's right at him and it goes through his hands, flappy hands. You know, the penalty. Who is it against Coventry? The one where he jumps over it. And then later on in the week, he does that against Sunderland. Sorry, you've got to be held accountable. And just because you've been named vice captain, which is a shambles within itself, that doesn't mean that you should get extra privileges over other players who will make mistakes and will get taken out of the firing line. It should be the same for everyone, but we know it's not. It never will be at this football club. But Daniel Farker is putting his trust in Melier, so expect Melier to start. Graham here saying here, no, sorry, David saying might inspire Melier to buck up his ideas. Yeah, and listen, and also it goes to this as well. If Carl Darlow, who listen, I know his clean sheet against Montenegro, he didn't have anything to do, but the whole point with that is that in some of the clean sheets that Melier's had, he's had hardly anything to do. So that isn't the point. The point is, I look at the other side of where Sheffield United are with Michael Cooper and his goalkeeping. He's just been getting on with it. Like Sheffield United don't have a lot of shots against them, but what he does, he just does it and gets on with it, rather than having stuff that he should just be getting on with, turning into a focal point of having to scrutinize and move what is just routine for everybody else, which is what happened against Sunderland. No matter what excuses people want to come out from Illan Meslier for that one. You know what I mean? There's just standard stuff that goalkeepers should do that he does not do. He's not commanding. His shot stopping ability that he used to have is absolutely gone. He inspires no confidence in for me, and I don't know if he inspires confidence for the people in front. We shall see tomorrow night. But I just think anyway, it's a thing for, you know, just to show that when you make too many errors, you can be taken out. But with Meslier, it's quite clear that no matter how many errors this guy makes, he's going to keep the jersey, which is just the wrong message to send out. And it also just, again, going back to Darlow, if he's not doing enough in training, if he's not looking good enough where Farker feels comfortable putting him in to take Melly out the firing line, then how bad is Darlow looking? And I don't think he's looking that bad. I just feel like it's just a complete trusting that Farker has in Meslier for whatever reason, and he's going to stick with him. Ryan here again. Meslier was given enough chances in the last season in the Prem to make amends, but instead he wasn't strong enough to overcome it and kept making more bad mistakes. Ryan here, yeah, saying, you know, Wilder will say test that keeper. It should be a given. It should be the first thing on his board. Look at some of the size of some of the Sheffield United players, just taking Sutter at the back or even Kiefer Moore up top. And Kiefer Moore, by the way, he's had opportunities this season, but he's just been fluffing his lines a whole lot. Wilder will say, you've had bad luck. You've not been getting them on target, or you've been unlucky, Kiefer. Just stick it on target against this keeper. He'll probably go in. Honestly, they'll probably will be saying that. It sounds very basic. It sounds very harsh. But if you're not targeting Illan Meslier, then you're not doing your job properly as a coach, really. Let's have a look here. Yeah, agree on Meslier. Yeah, he needs to be taken out the firing line for a game or two. Yeah, and listen, if Darlow isn't much better, then you haven't lost anything, because we've literally lost points because of Meslier this season. Your goalkeeper's supposed to gain you points, much like Michael Cooper is doing, because there's been a lot of tight games with Sheffield United and our oppositions. But Michael Cooper, when he's called upon, has just come in clutch, done what he's supposed to. Sheffield United can move on and get whatever it is, a clean sheet or a point or 3 points. But we're not getting that from our goalkeeper. And I even go back to the Burnley goal. And again, this people probably think this is being harsh, but I said it on the match review, so I'm not saying anything new here with hindsight. Go back to the match review. I said this when Manor Solomon made that mistake, and he had, and then that player, I can't remember his name, had the whole length of Ellen Road to go through. When he took the shot, I knew he wasn't going to save it. I knew it. I knew he wasn't going to get down and save it, because if he had saved it, then you go, thank you, Melier. You've just got us out of a hole. Solomon now, he made that error. It will be forgotten about now. But instead, people are still talking about that Solomon error as if that's the reason why we can see the goal. There was so much work to do. But when that players took the shot, I knew it was in. I knew it was in. And that's the problem with having Melier in goal. But there's no point. Yeah, everyone's saying the Portsmouth goal. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's just it's becoming one of these things now where it's getting bored, tiring to speak about. And if you've seen what's been happening over the international break, the amount of times that clip has been used against, uh, and this was something going on. Some silly Liverpool account was talking about women's football and how they need to make the goals smaller. So then a whole bunch of replies, as you can imagine, it was talking about, oh yeah, and they just referenced the Melier one, put the video in, reference the Melier one, or maybe mention shoot outside the box so it makes it easy for goalkeepers. And there's our goalkeeper, use it as an example. It was an absolute calamity, just a joke. We've been a joke for the last 2 weeks. And Melier is going to have that on Friday. There's going to be pressure on him. Listen, the fans will get behind him as they always do. But the Sheffield United players, their fans will get on him anytime he's about to have a touch, and he's got to deal with that. And as we've seen with him before, pressure isn't his friend. But look, that's the Melier Darlow thing, yeah. In terms of that, Snoop Huggy White, man, I haven't seen your name in a while, Snoop Huggy, man. Where you been? Let's face it, we have two poor goalkeepers, poor recruitment. Well, yeah, that's what I mean, Snoop Huggy. It's like tossing a coin. It's like, okay, which deficiencies do you want in goal today? You know what I mean? And listen, Cardala for me is as an average goalkeeper, but Melier is below average, and that's the thing for me. But look, hopefully we will get that right. I will always shout from the rooftops how many good goalkeepers there are out there that you don't have to spend a ton of money on. We shall see. But look, I'm putting Darlow in goal for this one, but we know Melier is going to be in goal. Firpo has to start at left back for me if he's fit. We know that he's had a very long trip and he's doing well over there in terms of for his country. But yeah, I mean, the opposition is what it is. Strout, Road, and Bogle goes without saying. Look, and again, storylines in sports, let Bogle get the goal. And hopefully he has a shirt on underneath saying rest in peace, Baldock or something. Let it be Bogle that writes the storylines in terms of his affiliation with George Bogle before. Yeah, Chris saying here, look at Sheffield United goalkeeper, 2 million. Yeah, and I'm not even saying that I would want him. There's other goalkeepers out there I want, but it's just about doing the basics. And Mr. Cooper, he does the basics very right. He does them right. And listen, I hope that blows up in my face tomorrow and he makes a calamitous error and we walk out that game with 3 points. But this season so far, he's been very, very good for Sheffield United. Literally just won the player of the month for him. So that's how good he's been. So yeah, the back four is what it is and how it should be. Tanaka Rothwell, well, it goes without saying because quite frankly, we don't have anyone else. Charlie Crew, I know people are mentioning him, but no, just no. Unless we somehow up 2-3-0 and then we can put him on for like the last 5 minutes, get his feet wet in the game, then no, it's gonna be Tanaka and Rothwell. And look, I've put Tanaka as the DM, Rothwell as the CM, but we know these things can interchange as we'll get to in the front four in just a moment. But in terms of that just writes itself, doesn't it? Now the front four, I'm going for this. Speaking of storylines, Joel Peru, yeah, I think he scored 4 off his last 4 shots on target. We knew about that fabricated story in the summer about Peru being offered in a make-weight deal. I want him to use that fuel and say, oh, you want to make stuff up about me, try and unsettle me, trying to make my worth look like I'm not worth anything to Leeds United in terms of trying to get another player for me. Watch this. And Joel Peru is more than capable of doing that. Joel Peru keeps the number 9 shirt for me. You guys know I have nothing but love for Mateo Joseph, and I know we got a hat trick in midweek. Actually, I was saying to him about him getting a hat trick and then Samu getting 4 goals. He just laughed. It's laughable, isn't it? Joseph gets 3. His next Spanish under-21 strike partner gets 4 in the next game. Crazy stuff. But Mateo Joseph in this one for me, if the game allows it later on, he needs to come on later in the game. And Joel Peru starts. It just makes sense for me. You don't take him out when he's been scoring. He's been scoring off the bench. He got a start. He scored in that one. Keep him up front. Unless we are getting stretched and we need the pressing of Joseph, which he will give us in abundance compared to Joel Peru, then yeah, you play Joel Peru up front. Now the other three involved, these again are going to be interchangeable. They will move around. We've seen Ramazani roam around in the 10. We've seen Solomon roam around in the off the left. He can play 10 as well. Nanto right, central. We know this will be very interchangeable. And the reason why I've gone for these, quite simply, is because Brendan Aronson is yet again had a long international trip. He come back from Mexico today. I just don't think it's wise starting Brendan Aronson. But look, he did this last time. He played 66 minutes before in the last international break, started the next game. But I'm just thinking for this one, if Solomon is now fit, as we're led to believe, he can take 60, 70 minutes of the game, use his influence, use his talent that he's got at this level, especially for this level. And then we put on Brendan Aronson for like the last 20, 25 minutes for his energy, his pressing, and his endeavor as well, because he has got it and he's been doing pretty well for us this season. I'm just trying to figure out who's going to be fit, and it will be very interesting to say. And that's why I will go Solomon to start, because he is a difference maker at this level. And he is more than capable as well, by the way, to put in those crosses that Joel Peru can feed off as well, like Jaden Bogle will as well. But he is going to be that goal threat that their midfield will have to think about. Ramazani keeps his spot for me. I don't think he was that great against Sunderland, quite honestly. So he could have possibly come out, but again, he was involved heavily in the build-up for one of our goals too. But I think we should keep him in there as well for his defensive work that he can bring as well. And Nanto is just cash money, the most foul player in the championship. He is our influential player. He makes things tick. I'm sure he'll probably go central and somebody else will go out wide. But Nanto is the key man, and that's where we have to go with ours. We need to make them concerned about our key players, and Nanto is definitely those. Graham here saying Aaron should never start after that amount of travel. That's what I'm considering, Graham. And listen, I'm not in this game of, oh, players are tired, this, players are tired, that. I'm just thinking of a human level. I think most people would have taken flights. It can wipe you out, especially that kind of difference coming from Mexico. So for me, it's just a no-brainer to put in somebody else in that spot. And if Aronson is fit enough to go, give him half an hour. Absolutely. Cookie in the house. Midfielders, wingers need to deliver back and forth, then Leeds will be fine. Yeah, midfielders, wingers always have to deliver, of course. Ryan here saying, I definitely think Solomon will start, whether it's for Ramazani or Aronson. Yeah, I think so too, Ryan, because like you just said, if Aronson is to start, I think that Ramazani will come out, but that just doesn't make sense to me because Ramazani is fit and ready to go. So with no, it just doesn't make sense, but we shall see. Farker knows the condition far more than we do, so we'll have to go with what he feels. Yeah, Carlos here saying Aronson played 78 minutes on Saturday, 90 minutes on Tuesday. Insane, but Pulisic came back from the break earlier. Make it make sense. Yeah, well, listen, we're not Milan, are we? So we don't get those privileges. And Farker kind of alluded to it in the press conference. Well, he wanted to say a lot more than he did. But yeah, it's not ideal. But what I would say, people, is I would rather have these issues than not. Because if we've got a team full of players that aren't internationals, especially if they're not playing for the bigger countries, then that means they're crap. In all honesty, that's what it does mean. So these are good problems to have. And of course, Graham here, Dan James will come on after half an hour. Talking about Aronson there, we also have Dan James coming back as well. And the reason why I haven't got Dan James starting, quite frankly, is because Farkas kind of made it clear that he's not fully anywhere near it for 90 minutes. But imagine you get a speedy Dan James on for like the last 20 and cause Sheffield United real headaches, especially Harrison Burrows, who I do like, by the way. But, we know he can be guided defensively. So listen, this is the good thing. This is what I'm talking about. I've just put you 11 here. There'll be some people that will be taking some of these players out and putting other players in. Our bench has gotten stronger now with a couple of the players back. Verber is to return very soon. We're in good shape, people. But this is the team that I would do tomorrow. Okay, but we'll see. We'll see. And listen, by the way, my match reaction, I've already put the video link up. So if you want to join me tomorrow, set a reminder, join me after the game, and we'll go through the result, rain or shine. Come rain or shine, we will be here. We will be there. We will be there. Let's have a look here. Yeah, Neil here saying only problem I see is Aronson does a lot of pressing that we don't get from Peru. Well, Neil, this is what I'm talking about. And by the way, I mean Peru won't be playing where Aronson is, but I get your point about Aronson in terms of his pressing. But if he's half tired or half baked and is prone to a mistake because he's a little bit lagged, then he's no good. He's no good to us. We don't need him half baked. We don't need him half tired. We need him in full focus. We need him fully focused, fully fit. And I just don't think he will be. But look, we shall see tomorrow, right? We shall see. Okay, look. So let's move on to let me just get Sheffield United's team. This is the let me just say this as well. This is how decent Sheffield United's depth is. This is against a team that came down with them from the Prem in Luton Town. Now they may have had to do a couple of enforced changes or things like that, but I think they were resting players. I think Harmer sat out though because he had 4 yellow cards. Don't quote me on that, but Harmer is either on 3 or 4 yellows, and there's no way he would have wanted him to miss the Leeds game. Absolutely not. But this is the team that they played against Luton Town, and they beat them comfortably 2-0. Raksaki double, birthday double for him. This is a good team. McCallum won't be there at left back. It will be Harrison Burrows, in my opinion, that will get that spot. Arnel Amahadzic, good centre back, has been linked with Serie A numerous times. I'm surprised he's still here. He's formed a big partnership at the back with Suter at the back. Gilchrist, who we were linked with as well, has done very well for him right back. He had one dodgy game where he had to come off, but that's going to happen with a young player's development. But overall, he's been good. Ali Arblaster, got to look out for that homegrown element as well in terms of a homegrown boy coming good for his club. In terms of him, he's a good young prospect who's linked with Brentford this summer as well. Vinny Sosa, he's somebody who when he first came in had that welcome to the championship moment where he got knocked a bit and was expecting a foul, and Chris Wilder got a hold of him, saw him get a hold of him before half time, and then he came out second half and said, well, if that's how we're playing, I can mix it up too. And Vinny Sosa can mix it up, and he's going to be key in that midfield for him too. um let's have a look here in terms of going forward here. Raksaki, yeah, we know about Brewster. Brewster has been an absolute flop, and this is where Sheffield United have the luxury of being Sheffield United. Because let me tell you, if we had spent 25 million on a player that's returned, I think 5 goals since he's been there, we'd be getting absolutely hammered. It'd be all over the place. But Sheffield United can get away with that. You know what I mean? They can get away with a 25 million flop. Listen, he's been awful for them. He's been awful, absolutely awful, and we need to keep him that way. But I expect him to be on the bench. Callum O'Hare is, we know what he's like. He can invade spaces, and that's where our two central midfielders have got to be careful of. And we know what Kiefer Moore's about. We know his game hasn't gone as well as he probably envisioned it would. But all he knows, all he has to do is get Sutton on target tomorrow, and he can get in the goals tomorrow. He can do that, and he knows that. And this is what I mean in terms of that. This was against Luton Town, and they rested Gus Harmer for this one. Whether they wanted to avoid him getting yellow or not, that's not the point. The fact is, this is Luton Town, who people would expect to be up there. I said it from the start, though. I don't expect them to be up there because I think they're a championship-y stroke League One team anyway. So they did that. They rested Harrison Burrows. Jack Robinson is playing himself into fitness, so we'll see if he's going to be available. Tyrese Campbell is Tyrese Campbell. I don't rate him too highly, but you've seen that they've got a very, very good team out there, and I've already spoken about Mike Cooper in goal. So look, it's not going to be easy, people, and I won't put that on it. If it's an easy win tomorrow, then we've played exceptionally well, and maybe the circumstance of the last couple of weeks have affected Sheffield United. But if not, it's because it's going to be a tough game, a real tough game tomorrow. But look, we've got to make a statement tomorrow. We've got to get the win. So let's go with okay, Michael is confirming, yeah, Harmer was on 4 yellow cards. Would have thought so, absolutely. But the fact that they could do that against Luton, this isn't Plymouth. Sorry, Plymouth again, but this isn't like an easy, one of the easier teams. It's against one of the teams that came down with them. They were that comfortable to take Harmer out the firing line. So pretty good for them. In terms of score predictions, let's get into that then, people. Man, something's telling me it's going to be a draw tomorrow. My head is saying it's going to be a draw. In all honesty, I'm seeing a 1-1 draw in my head, but my heart wants a 2-1 Leeds United win. So I'm going to cheat again. I'm going to go 1-1 in my head, just because Sheffield United are defensively solid. We're missing a few of our key players in key areas as well in terms of defensive midfield. It's going to be tough. So I'm going to go. I'm cheating in it. Let's just go 2-1 Leeds, but it's going to be hard. Okay. Let's have a look there. Head saying 1-1. Heart says 2-0. David's going 1-1. Neil's going for a 1-0 Leeds win. That would be nice. Yeah. That would be nice. Carlos here saying, I'm feeling for days like this. It will be our game against Ipswich at Ellen Road last season. We'll start flying high. Hope so, man. Hope so. Will's saying here, got 4-2 Leeds. I got 50 to 1 on it. Will's even putting bets in there. David saying 1-0 to us. Deshaun's going 3-0 Leeds. Hank's going 2-2. Okay, right. So no one's got a Sheffield United win. I'm surprised. I'll be honest, I'm surprised. Diggler's going 3-1 Leeds. Yeah, that would be nice, Diggler. Absolutely. So yeah, listen, people, whatever your score predictions are, put them in the comments below. And yeah, look, we'll be back to speak about this tomorrow. I'm glad, just to say as well, glad club football's back again. International breaks, please, we got to dead these off soon. Dead these off. But look, big game tomorrow, Leeds United versus Sheffield United. Give me your thoughts, your predicted lineups, or what you would do tomorrow in the comments below. Score predictions as well. And I will see you tomorrow night straight after the game, people. And listen, shout out to you, Tyler, as well, for the super chat. Thank you so much, Tyler, for the support. And yeah, Ryan, good, best way to end the stream. Hardest game to call this season for me. Me too, Ryan. Me too. See you tomorrow night, people. Peace out.